Coming up on the Bigwater Podcast is NFL Pro Super Bowl champ and like 8,000-time Pro Bowler, Marshal Yanda. Believe it or not, that dude not only fishes, he fishes with me. And we got some stories about this one time we almost both left the boat. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Bigwater Podcast. I am Ross Robertson. You know, fishing's what I do, but sometimes we like to talk about it. Shenanigans, behind-the-scenes stuff, and today's a little different. We've got I don't know if I would say he's been a client, he's been kind of almost a friend, maybe.
Maybe.
He's been a lot of different things, but we've got Marshal Yanda, the freshly retired 13-year?
13, yep.
13-year pro, the lucky 13, played for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know how many times you were a Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ, all of these things. You got quite the football resume, and I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down with us.
Yeah, happy to be here, for sure.
I'll be honest, the first thing as I look at, I mean, you know, you're kind of a big boy, but right now it's the ginger locks on the grill are gone. I don't even know what to do right now. You look like, I think I could take you now by looking at you.
Nah, that's not going to happen. There ain't no way. But yes, I definitely am. I'm a lot lighter, that's for sure. And my first clean shave in like 8 years, so it's feeling good.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen you in person. We talk, you know, infrequently, sometimes frequently. But I'm looking. Yep. It's kind of like when Joe Thomas retired here a year or two or three or whatever it was ago, and the same thing. I saw him, you know, in town, and I'm like, what happened? But yeah. A little easier on the joints, a little easier on the body, and a little easier on the grocery bill, huh?
No doubt about it, all the way around. And when you've been for an offensive lineman, I've been waiting a long time to drop the weight. You always have to keep your weight up. I was one of those guys that had to, you know, eat enough food or I wasn't going to be heavy enough. So for the past 8 years, I've been looking forward to when I retire to drop the weight. So I've had a lot of motivation, a lot of drive to get after it. And gosh, my body already feels way better. So it's been a great process so far.
Well, I'm sure your body will thank you, but since there's been already too much love in this, I think we just need to get down to brass tacks. And you know, you're originally from Iowa, and you're an outdoors guy. You're a hunting and fishing guy. You're a good old boy. You drive a big old 3/4 ton, you know, truck.
Yeah,
you're my type of guy. But I got to be honest, I don't give a shit about football stuff. I love Ohio State Buckeyes. College football is my deal. Pro stuff, I could care less. We won't get into that.
It's because you got the Browns in your state. Yep.
Well, that's
I get it.
Probably a big portion. And the fact that you're a Ravens guy and a lot of people from Ohio, they probably are already tuning out as they are. But nobody knows who linemen are. If I didn't tell them because you're a lineman, I mean, granted, you're a big deal. You're probably going to be in the Hall of Fame or something, but you're a lineman.
You're unnoticed, no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, you could go through the grocery store. Tom Brady's not going through the grocery store without getting mobbed. Just saying.
No doubt. I mean, that's facts.
I probably would get more of a mob of people than you, but I mean, I'm not trying to pick on you or anything.
Maybe at Mazurek's, all right, but that might be the end of it. Okay, you know, you might get mobbed at Mazurek's, but you know, maybe.
I'm just saying. I mean, kind of on TV stuff, but we went out fishing and we had a good day, if I remember correctly. Had a couple of your buddies and.
Yep, we hammered them for sure.
And you threatened to throw me out of my own boat an hour in. It took about 60 minutes, I think.
It had, I've fished with some guides over the days, and it's never escalated as quickly as it did in your boat. But I think it was by noon, I was like, you know, I will throw you out of this boat, and we'll drive back to Mazurek's, you know, without you. And then you're like, well, I have a special keypad on my Ranger. You know, I don't have the 1, 2, 3, 4. And I said, I don't care.
I went back and I tapped the dash and I said, do you see the keys? Why don't you grab the keys for me? And you were like, you don't have that. Oh yeah. I said, yeah. I said, do you remember exactly what I said was, I said, you're like, well, the keypad's probably 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, oh God, he knows the Ranger default thing. Okay, a lot of people don't know that. Probably 99% of people getting my boat don't know that. So then I looked at him and I'm like, now do you really think an asshole like me would keep that on 1, 2, 3, 4? Now it is 1, 2, 3, 4 at the time.
Yeah.
Not now,
right.
But it was then. So.
Yep. But then I said, I don't care about the main motor. I said, we'll fire up the kicker and we'll kicker it all the way back. You know, it was only going to be a 10-mile run, and that would have been a nice, quiet 10-mile run on the way back. This was with day one with you, all right? So, I mean, you know, let's just say we got off on the right foot right out the gate.
I mean, were you really contemplating a 2.5-hour kicker run in? I mean, really?
We could have maybe thrown some cranks on and maybe trolled all the way in. Trolled a little faster. So yeah, I mean, you leave your options open, Ross, at all times.
I doubt we're going to do another one of these, especially the way we're starting here. But if we were to, I'm going to hold back my story on exactly what I said after that. We're going to save that one where I said the win-win situation, if you remember that story. But we're not going to go there. We're going to leave a little something behind. That's my ace in the hole, my little trump card. But
yeah, for sure.
We're going to talk a little bit about fishing, but I think a lot of the guys, we're going to talk a lot about football, which is ironically in our time together, I think we've fished together or been around about 10 years in that range.
Yeah, probably. Yep, I would say, yeah.
And
close to that.
And the funny thing is I don't think we've talked football more than about 5-10 minutes, mainly because I know that's not what you want to do. You want a little getaway, and I don't give a shit.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
But in reality, a lot of guys that are listening to this, they're into sports. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And and the thing that we do on a lot of these podcast things is we talk about behind the scenes stuff because that's what guys want to know. So we definitely want to hear some behind the scenes stuff. That's why I did not want to have you on. If you remember, I've been kind of jumping on you for about 2 years as you kind of maybe had told me things privately, which I appreciate.
Yep.
And I said, when you're done, that's when I want you on because I know you. You're super professional. You're all work, dude. And I knew that we weren't going to get the real deal until you were out of that locker room.
No doubt, for sure. Yeah.
But I guess before we even go there, not that we're trying to make this listen up kids and stuff, but I think it's fair to say I don't know your whole story. That's why you're here. But I know probably more about you than a lot of people do. And, you weren't necessarily like some 5-star recruit coming out of school, right?
Yep.
I mean, you're an in-the-trenches, hard-working dude.
Yep.
And I can remember, as I prepped for this and looking into stuff, that there were several coaches that you had that basically told people at the next level, hey, I know it don't look right on paper, but just trust me on this because a lot of it is here and here. And, you can't put that on paper all the time. So, so give me a little background on maybe when you weren't doing things right and how you brought that back so that you could even get to this point that you're at now.
Yeah. No, so I grew up in Northeast Iowa, around Cedar Rapids area, is like a big city, like close to my hometown. We grew up on a farm, dairy farm, basically, big farm, farm strong kid on the farm. Loved to play football, loved to, play sports, play basketball, track, threw shot and disc, and just normal kid. But then, I wasn't like you said, I wasn't really groomed by the end of high school. I wasn't offered any scholarships right away from high school. So I had to go take the junior college route. So that was like a process. And I also had to buckle down on my grades and get all that stuff in order to give me a shot to play Division I football. So like my start wasn't like, a Joe Thomas type deal, where Joe was the best football player when he stepped on the field from the word go when they started playing. So mine was more of a process and I had to, a lot of battles to fight and climb and stuff, but I went to JUCO and did well. Graduated in a year and a half, and then got a scholarship to play for Iowa, which was awesome. That was basically my dream. Like when you grow up in Iowa, you grew up in northeastern Iowa, you're a Hawkeye fan. We really don't have like a pro team. My parents were Hawkeye fans, so that was my dream, was to play at Iowa. So, and coming from junior college, a very small percentage make it to Division 1A, and I was the only kid out of 140 guys that started to make it Division 1A. So it was a big accomplishment. And I was just like, hey, I've made it this far and I'm really excited. And I just want to hopefully have one more goal to be able to play at the division, start at a Division 1 level. So, worked hard, busted my butt, learned a lot, grew a lot, found potential that I didn't know I had. From the University of Iowa and Coach Doyle and their process. And just that really from, University of Iowa on, my career, my play just started going on an incline up. And, was fortunate enough to be drafted by the Ravens in 2007. I was a 3rd round pick. And like, since I was a junior college player, I only played 2 years at Iowa. So, I went in the 3rd round, which was still great. I mean, I was, blown away, and it was a great, awesome day, an awesome experience. And then obviously the work really started, was when you got drafted and you started that battle to try to play in the NFL. So it was a constant battle through injuries and fighting, for competition. And I loved it and had such a great run. I got to play 13 years with one team. I didn't have to go anywhere else.
That's got to be pretty rare.
Yeah, it is. I mean, some guys get to do it, obviously, but some guys don't, just with the way contracts work out, or injuries, or production, or there's so many different factors that you can't control. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel fortunate to play for one team, and we won a Super Bowl in 2012, and we've had a lot of success in Baltimore. Most of my time in Baltimore, like we had, winning season and playoff teams, and been in the playoffs a lot. So it's been a great experience. Met a lot of great people. A lot of great battles versus a lot of the best guys in the world, to be able to play at that level. I feel fortunate and grateful for that opportunity, because, like I said, that necessarily wasn't the writing on the wall coming out of high school, or even working through college. It was a grind out process, and I had to work extremely hard for everything that I got. But I mean, as most people know with success, all that work that you put in, you open those doors of opportunity, and they just kept opening for me. So so that's kind of like my story in a nutshell. Iowa kid, offensive lineman is what what they produce in Iowa, and big strong farm kid, always stout, and played a long time in the NFL. And like I said, though, I love my time when I wasn't playing football. I loved fishing and I love hunting, but I mainly fished just because you don't get to hunt, in the fall with football. So I really got into fishing. Like, my passion is fishing, and enjoy it every chance I get, because it's such a big release from the stressful environment of the demands of football. All the production business and everything is high stakes, and your job's on the line every single day. So fishing was always a really big release for me, that I really enjoyed being in the boat and spending time in the outdoors.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can tell, because, in my boat in a week, I may have a guy that's a CEO of a company, a movie star, a fishing guy, a guy that just works at an auto plant. And you get to see, like, I had a CEO of a major company that you definitely know, and everybody else does. And this guy, in 10 minutes on my boat, knew more than most people that have fished with me 100 days. You know what I mean? Like, he picked up on things, and you see that a lot. And, I saw with you, that you were into it. You just weren't there like a lot of guys were, just to go through the day and catch some fish, take a picture with it, or some photo op or something like that. Like, you legit want to be there. This is you love doing this. And
you like the process.
Yeah, and you've asked me things. We talk, like I said, not frequently, but not infrequently. And we talk about things, and a lot of times you're always, because you're a finagler. You kind of remind me of a big hit. You hit with something, but you're really going over here. Some people would even call that a Ross maneuver. But and then you're sneaking over here, and you're like, well, who do you know up on the Rainy River? And so what do you? Because even a fun fishing trip that you're going to go with your brother-in-law or another guy, you're putting in the preparation. My line is always, preparation causes separation. And all the good fishermen that we've had on the podcast or TV shows through the years, I mean, the big name guys, all-time leading money winners, they all do the same thing. It always comes up. Yet at a seminar, like I've done probably 30 seminars this year, if not more, and when I bring up preparation and stuff like that, I lose everybody. I watch their faces. I lose them, because they want to hear about what lure and what color. They're not worried about the things that really make them better. And I'm sure in your deal, you go to a high school and you talk to these kids, it's eating, it's working out, it's doing it in the classroom. And some of that stuff, you had some mentors, I'm sure, but me and you have talked, and I'll let you tell it, but those are things that they're the important things. The things you don't think maybe are important, especially at a younger age, really are, whether it's fishing or football.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's all about the daily disciplines of life, and making those sacrifices, and definitely, like, when I got to Iowa, like, the head coach, Coach Ferentz, and Coach Doyle is the strength and conditioning coach. Like, every day, it was about doing the little things right, and like accountability, and being on time. I mean, just the smallest thing is that, of being on time. Just all these little daily disciplines, or daily stoics, however you want to call them. But those were very important, and getting those hammered into you every single day about, preparation and opportunity, and being disciplined, all the little daily disciplines, where it's just as easy to do the right thing, or as it is to do the wrong thing. Like, just before bed, are you gonna eat something bad right before bed, or are you gonna drink a glass of water and go to bed? It's just as easy to do both. What the daily discipline, what are you gonna do? So all those little things add up, and they compound. So, I started on that path, And I just, started following that regimen, and just things started, going my way. All those little slight edges that you have in life, I started getting those breaks because of all those little things that add up. All that preparation, all that, sacrifice and hard work, it definitely, it propelled my career. It's how I live my life to this day, just having that mental focus, that mental toughness, is huge, just because people, they don't want to work and they don't want to, they don't want to see it through either. They want the instant reward, instant gratification. Like you said, I want the number 7, crankbait in this color, and then I don't even, not the process, not the speed, not the depth, not all the things that go with it, the drift bags, everything, all that stuff. So yeah, it's in all areas of life, not just fishing or football. It's how you live your life for sure.
Well, and I don't want to get ahead of the game because I've had a few conversations with your wife, which I'm going to save that for a little bit. But you are kind of a buzzkill because in like May, do you remember when I'm like, you're buying me ice cream? And you're like,
yeah.
And I'll get into why and everything on that too. But you literally went to an ice cream place. We have like the ice cream place there in outside of Marblehead, and you literally did not get ice cream in May. And I was like, damn. I'm like, that is some dedication right there. Like,
no
seriously?
doubt, I know. And I remember you specifically saying, I was like, well, is it like really good? And you're like, have you ever? And then you're like, let me ask you this: have you ever had bad ice cream? And I'm like, yeah, I probably never have had bad ice cream. So it almost, you almost got me, but. Yeah, no, you're always thinking about it.
Dairy. For anybody out there, it's Toff's Dairy, and Marshall turned them down in May. So I don't. When do you guys go back? I mean, you had months.
You go back like at the end of July, like the third week in July is when you start training camp.
So you had a couple months, and it wasn't like you were trying to be a wide receiver because God knows you are not fast, even though me and you did race. But let's not get into that either. So, dude, you're a big boy. Like ice cream, that seems like that's a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, but no, it's just that constant, you're always thinking about it. It's always on your mind. Like, and especially like when you've had some success doing it, like I always was like, I want to get better. I want to be a better football player. I want to be a better person. Like there's always room for growth. And I feel like being humble and having that approach is like, it needs to be on your mind all the time. If it's that important to you, you're making those little sacrifices all the time. It's not just an on-off switch, as far as like living your life. It's making those decisions every day. And football, like when I, getting good and being a great football player, it was an addiction. Like I wanted to be great, and that never left my mind all year long. Like now that I'm retired, I realized how much in the off season I thought about it, and I did. I thought about it every day, and it was on my mind. If it's just going to help me, if it's going to possibly hurt me or whatnot, it's just the right thing to do. So it's that greatness and that addiction to that goal is huge.
I don't think if it's fishing. If you want to be a doctor, you want to play football, I think in some ways you have to have those same attributes.
Yeah, exactly. It does. Yeah, exactly. It's not just football. It can be it can be your job. It can be a doctor. It can be like it can be a guy mowing grass. I don't care, but like it's how you live your life. To set yourself up for success. And it doesn't matter what job you have. I agree. It's what drives you for sure.
Like I told you, I've had people in my boat where they don't see a bite the entire day, and I'll have one guy who is he's not my level, obviously, it's not what he does, but he is so far heads and above the other people that get in my boat. I just kind of look at him, and then I'll ask him later on, because generally I don't like to talk about business because I know this is people's getaway thing. But I'll say, so what do you do for a living exactly? I'm the head cardiac surgeon at the Mayo Clinic. I've had things like that, and you're like, now I get it. Like these are people that they want to excel. It doesn't matter if we're having a race walk to the ice cream place or fishing. That they want to learn and grasp it. I've had guys that just get pissed when they can't see the bites because they're so competitive.
No doubt, for sure.
And I'm not going to say where you rank on that, but
no, we were still that. I still remember the first time we went with you. You would obviously. You called probably 85% of the fish on the boards, and obviously that's what you do. This is your wheelhouse for sure. But it was still pretty impressive. Just obviously watching somebody that is good at what they do, and they're dialed in. You've always been dialed, Ross. You talk a lot. You're a pain in the ass, but you're dialed. Okay, all right. That's there's no arguing that.
Well, I gave you a backhanded compliment, and I meant it, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to take that to the bank also. So let's talk a little bit about fishing, because honestly, I think a lot of these guys want to hear the behind the scenes stuff that I've had to bribe you to talk about. So I know you go up to the Rainy River. What are some
Yep.
fishing trips that you've done or that you're looking to do? Because now a guy who's absolutely wouldn't eat ice cream is now got time on his hands. And I know we don't need to get into all your specifics, but you're going to have more time on your hands to do what you want to do in your mid-30s. And so what are some trips that you're planning or things that you wish you would have done or you're going to do or whatever?
Well, I started getting into fishing in the saltwater fishing down in the winter. We used to ice fish a lot. I have one of those snow bears, and we used to fish and go up to Lake Winnipeg a good amount. In the right after the football season. Sometimes we'd take 2-3 trips a year up to Winnipeg and go ice fishing. So, but
I remember two gingers ice fishing together one year.
Yes, went out to pick up a boat. Went out and caught some walleyes out on Lake Erie. That's a different. It's a different technique to catch them out there than Lake Winnipeg, that's for sure.
And just for a visual picture, he had white surgical gloves on these giant baseball mitt hands at the time. And my guys were like, this looks like it's how a serial killer movie starts.
No doubt. It might have ended that way too, Ross. Depends on, how far you keep pushing.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. If you watched on Who Outfished 2, it was a slaughter.
Man. Well, they're different. Yeah, for sure. You had to really tone things down your cadence. Like normally, you can use a vibrating bait up at Winnipeg and really rip it and be aggressive. And those fish were really, they wanted it, slowed down and just subtle for sure.
And it's different every day. And obviously our buddy Shorty Craig there, he put on a clinic, if you remember.
He did. I do. I remember the Whistler jig with the shiner on there, and I think a stinger too. But anyways, getting back to my trips. So I go to Mexico and I go tuna fishing down in Puerto Vallarta. I've been going the last 5 years. So that's my first trip after the football season is I go down there. And that's just a new element, of fishing the salt. And I went down there here about 3 weeks ago, and we ended up getting into some tunas where we go on a 3-day. We do 3 days of day trips where we try to find them, working on birds and bait and cast poppers to them. So you try to fish in the 30 to 100 pound range, casting poppers on a 18,000 Shimano Stella, which is just awesome, casting a popper towards a possible 100-pound fish. My biggest one is 95 pounds on a popper, which is awesome. The explosion of a tuna hitting a big 12-inch popper is it's one of the best fishing. It's awesome.
I've never done it with tunas, but we did an episode of Hook Shots, and we had some 30-some pound redfish on those exact same tuna poppers with single hooks swapped out. And it was insane.
Yeah, I mean, just the power of the fish, the adrenaline, the horsepower, is crazy. So we do that for 3 days, and then the other 3 days of the trip, we board an overnight boat. And this year, you go about 110 miles offshore, and you fish for the big cow tunas, and you usually use kites and you live bait squids. And we had a really good 3-day trip. We caught 4. They were in the 200-pound range, and we got one. We got one that was 270. 2 that were 250-pound range, and a 230-pound tuna. So we got some just absolute giant fish.
That's some good eating. Did they let you take the meat home or?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So I brought 2 dry bags and soft coolers, put in the dry bags, and I checked 2 50-pound bags of tuna steaks. So I brought home 100 pounds.
I mean, I didn't get the phone call, and I also didn't get an overnight little box coming either. But
no.
I see where I stand.
You're on the list, but you don't know where you're at on the list, and that can be
I figured out where I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. That's for sure. But so that trip.
Note to self.
That trip, yeah. But that trip is just a great experience. Learning the saltwater deal and do a little bit of casting, and then a little bit obviously drift fishing where you're waiting for those big fish. So that's a good trip. And then every spring I fish, like you said, Rainy River. I love my favorite way is to jig fish. If I can catch walleyes, casting a 1/4 ounce jig in a plastic, that's my favorite way to catch them. If the conditions are right. So usually rainy if it's a moving target with the river and the weather and all that stuff. But if it does, turn out right, you can catch a good amount of fish just fishing all day with a jig, and you get some really big fish too. So that's another trip. And then I have a jet boat, and we like going smallmouth fishing in shallow water. We usually go to the upper Mississippi, up around St. Cloud area of Minnesota, and we fish for smallies. And we will fish topwater if we can, buzzbait or whopper ploppers, and then obviously like tubes, stuff like that for smallies. And I enjoy that. Skinny river, running a jet boat is fun. That's another just experience, where you're in inches of water and just the scenery of being on that small river and smallmouth. So that's another good trip. And then we usually try to go to Lake Erie every year for a trip, and come out and see Ross, and go to Rickards and spend a couple $100 on baits that I just continue to never have the right stuff.
Chrome blue.
Yeah. Chrome blue.
Let's get one. You remember that?
Chrome blue bandits. All right. Yeah. Every year I come, there's always something new.
But I'm going to let people at home here just for a second. I can't tell you his nickname because it has to be a private thing that I've coined him. But the long and the short of it, he came and he said, "Hey, what's happening?" And I said, "Hey, man, I got a bunch of guys out, working for me. I mean, a chrome blue bandit at the time was just you catch fish on other stuff, but they were just going wildfire." And he's like, "I don't know if I got any." I said, "Listen, I'm gonna call Rick, and he's gonna set you some aside, dude.
Yeah.
This is the deal." I said, and I preface it by telling him because you know how I fish. I said, "I've got 6 of them out right now. Like, I'm in the boat. I'm like, I got 6 of them out." He's like, "Okay." He goes, folks. Okay, he goes, now keep in mind, this is his trip. He's only a couple days. He got to go back in. He's not eating ice cream, the whole deal. He goes in there, Rickards, and he takes like 1. Well, Rick had told me, and I don't remember exact numbers. I am bullshitting with the number, but he sold like 100, whatever he had, because I remember he had 50 some. I remember because we actually talk about this because Rick doesn't forget anything either. So he sold like 50 some in one day. He set some aside. You took 1. And you're out there catching them on 1 rod. And you're like, "Dude, you got any more?" Am I bullshitting?
No, that happened. We did. Well, the thing was, we bought 1 stockpile the first day, and I did have 1 from the first time we bought from Rickards, and then we went there again, and so I had 2. So 2 out of the six rods I thought was enough, coverage, running 2 out of the 6. But obviously, it definitely like I said, it's fishing. You're never going to always have like the right. But
you had the inside edge. You just didn't listen.
I know.
Think about this in football terms right now. You weren't listening to the coach.
I know. Well, that happens sometimes. Sometimes you gotta go off on your own once in a while. It happens. All right.
If you were playing for the Patriots, we'd see how that would work out.
No, man, we're not even gonna go there. All right.
I'm just saying.
I've been on the end of that stuff for and it's no good.
We'll save that for a while, but. So getting into it, you've had some buddies come fish with me through the years that you sent out there. And the one story that they always, because again, me and you just, honest to God, we don't talk football because I don't care, and that's your release, or at least I figured that.
Well, Ross, you're talking all the time. I can't tell any stories when you're talking the entire trip. That's
true.
So that's what happens. So true. You didn't hear any stories because it's this, okay? It's this the whole time.
I've never heard that before. You're the first person.
I'm sure you haven't. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Even
exactly.
the camera guy's bitching at me.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but go ahead. Proceed. Yeah.
So the story that everybody wants to hear, and I wrote down a few things from your buddies because they sold you out a little bit. So the one though is the Ray Lewis deal where you're feeling pretty good about yourself for a second. Because here you are, a bright-eyed, young, corn-fed boy in the big city. And
no doubt.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was my rookie year, and we're in training camp, and I just got this, I step on the football field, it's on. It doesn't matter what time, what place, you know what I mean? I'm going to go block you to the best of my ability. And like, I'm also like got a little bit of a nasty streak in me. So like when I'm playing, I get after you. Well, I didn't realize when I was a rookie that Ray Lewis in practice, you don't block Ray actually in practice. You actually don't go up and hit him hard because obviously he was in his 10 plus years when I was a rookie. I played 6 years with him. And you just don't do that to Ray. I didn't know that. Nobody told me. I didn't get the memo, okay? So it's like the day 5 in training camp, and I go up and go to block Ray, and I actually like block him. Like I fit up and get a good hit on him, and then like he tries to pursue the play. Well, then I kind of like stick with him and try to like kind of like get after him a little bit. Well, that was the wrong thing to do. He literally proceeds to throw me down, like jerk me down by my pads after the play was over. And like as I'm getting up, he just stood over me and he says, "Don't you ever do that again." And I said, "No problem, Ray. I'll never do it again. Don't worry about it." I was like shitting my pants because like I'm this, 22-year-old rookie, and he was in like year 11 or year 10, and this is Ray Lewis, right? And then after that, I was just like, I didn't block him again. For my entire 6 years with Ray, I never touched him in practice. I would literally go up and like act like almost like a basketball screen because like he didn't want to be hit in practice. But like I said, I didn't get the memo, and I'll never forget, like I said, he had the look in his eyes where it was like it was going to be on. Don't you ever do that again. I said, Ray, no problem. Never again, bud.
Yeah, I would love to throw you under the bus, but that seems like kind of a logical mistake. I mean, I don't know anything about pro sports.
I didn't know. I mean, obviously, even in practice, you're going to go when you're a young guy and you're trying to prove yourself. You got to go 110%. Well, I've learned now too. Like my last, 5-6 years of playing. There's no way I'm giving you game speed in practice. You're just not going to get it out of me. You get that one day a week, and especially not during training camp where you're practicing so much every single day. So I didn't understand that. There's a learning curve with everything, but luckily I escaped that one with a hefty warning. But yeah,
I would think your position coach. I mean, I'm not trying to like second guess it's over with, but your position coach would kind of.
I know, exactly. Well, he told me after the fact, and it's like, well, yeah, thanks for the heads up before. And I think
after you landed on the hand grenade.
Well, and I think they also, blood in the water where they kind of wanted to see what I'm going to do. Am I going to go up and try to block him right away, or am I just going to not, because it's Ray Lewis, and it's like maybe it was a test to see what I was going to react and how. And after they seen that I was going to do that, maybe they backed off. But like, yeah, you never know. But it was one of those moments in my career where I'll never forget with my first encounter with him. So
I think another good one that you kind of got leaked out is, you're frugal. I mean, like buying the one crankbait on your trip.
No doubt. For sure. I'm trying to pinch, Ross. It's a way of life. All right.
I'm not even going to, I'm going to give you a hard time, but I'm not going to throw out there what I know. I mean, a little bit. Yeah. It'll get worse. Yeah. It'll get worse. It'll get worse before this is over with. But yeah, what would you do for $600? Do I have a little insight on this?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another good story. That's the Taser story. So that's also my rookie year. And two of our players, Samari Roll and Chris McAllister, were two of the older veterans on the team, and they would always be, throwing around cash for young guys to do stupid stuff, jump in the cold tub or, run around somewhere naked or whatever, you know what I mean? So one of the guys brought in his wife's taser because his wife had a personal protective taser, and they're offering up $600 to let them shock guys on the team. So there's another rookie before me that was a defensive back, and he let him do it, and he literally got shocked. And I didn't see this happen, just heard about it.
Some guys shit their pants when that happens. They lose all control.
Well, he jumped, hit the ground, was flailing around on the ground and going crazy, and they were loving this shit, right? Like the older players were, just because the monotonous of the days, and this is during training camp too, and they're so we're in the locker room, and they're yeah, they're offering $600, and I hadn't even heard about it until right in the moment. They're yeah, $600 to let them shock you, and I'm $600? Are you shitting me? That can't be any worse than getting shocked on an electric fence on a farm. I grew up on a dairy farm where you got shocked all the time getting into an electric fence. And if it was an older style of electric fence, they had some serious heat to them, some shockness. So I was I'll do it. So they everybody gets up and says, Yanda will do it. He'll do it. So we literally.
Oh, and they all start chanting little high school or junior high kids.
Yes. Yeah. Building it up, building it up. We get in a big circle and those two guys, and I'm in the middle with these two guys. And literally, I still to this day, though, don't think the batteries were fully charged or whatever. But
the modesty's coming out.
So he shocks me, and there ain't no me flailing around. It hurt a little bit, but like I said, and I just pulled away, and I said, yeah, it kind of hurts a little bit. And then they kind of look at me like it didn't do anything. I said, you can shock me again. You know what I mean? So I literally let them shock me twice because I didn't think that they were going to pay me because I was a rookie. And if they would have said, hey, you didn't do anything, it must not be working. We're not paying you. So I literally let them shock me twice. And I didn't really do much. And obviously it was one of those moments where them guys, I gained a lot of respect by the guys. But anyway, still to this day though, I picked up those 6 $100 bills and walked back to my locker, and I'm holy shit, this is crazy.
Now, if you're working at the 7-Eleven, that's a little different story. But also, I mean, what job can you go to and you're going to get shocked? And it's actually a positive thing that this ends up working out.
I know, exactly. And then, still to this day, 13 years later, I told the story when I gave a retirement speech with the Ravens, and I told the same story because it's just a funny story, of how the person I am and the way, like you said, I am a frugal guy, and I'm gonna jump on that money. If it's an easy money, I'm gonna make it. So I did that, and that's
100 crankbaits.
Exactly. That's like 2 trips to Rickards, okay? Because like you can't get out of Rickards for under $200. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Good stuff.
And I guess right about when we got together, I think you had just won the Super Bowl, or we're pretty close, and I'm sure that had to be just maybe not as much stories, but just obviously something you'll probably never forget. I mean, that's the creme de la creme of what you do, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, going back to those years, like, we were in the playoffs every single year, like 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. We were in there 5 straight years of the playoffs. So, like, and the year before we won the Super Bowl, we made it to the AFC Championship game. We were at New England playing against Tom Brady, and it was a back and forth game, and we ended up losing a heartbreaking game right at the end. We had our kicker miss a field goal, like just shanked it by like 30 yards. And they go on to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. So, like, that was the worst loss I'd ever had to deal with. We were, like, really close to making it, to the Super Bowl. So the year later, almost a calendar year later, we're in the exact same spot in New England again. And we take advantage of our opportunity. We get a chance in that year to, like, go to Denver and beat Peyton Manning on the road when nobody thought we were going to do that. And it was, like, 20 below. And there was ice freezing in my pads, and just like the atmosphere of like being the underdog. It was just awesome experience. So like we beat Denver, and then we go to New England, like I said, a calendar year later, and be able to get after them and win the game outright. Like by the end of the game, we were up by like 2.5 scores, and it was awesome. And then to be able to go to the Super Bowl, just to be a part of that, like Ray Lewis always talked about watching the confetti fall. And we had been in the playoffs so much, we had heard that story about the best thing about the Super Bowl is watching that confetti fall right after, you win the game. And to actually like to be able to do that and follow through with that and watch that whole deal and be a part of it, it was unreal. Celebrate, that experience with your teammates and coaches, and be able to, hold the Lombardi trophy and get your Super Bowl ring, like a ring ceremony. Just that whole deal was just unbelievable. I mean, it's why you play, right? It's why we all are paid to play, to win a world championship. And like I said, I mean, just the confetti falling and your family, and just that's the pinnacle. That's why you do it. Well, I mean, and you just realize it's really hard to get there too. Guys play 12 years and they don't even play in a playoff game sometimes. That happens,
You see a lot of guys, if you watch Sports Center or something like that, will move teams towards the end of their career, take half the money, literally leave millions of dollars on the table to just go win. Maybe not even a Super Bowl contender, just to win because of the love of the game. And I know, you're obviously you're a very intense guy. You're very, very dedicated. I mean, I can't get over you not eating ice cream. It just tops dairy. It's like, oh my God.
I still eat ice cream. Okay, maybe I must have had it like 4 or 5 days before we went to Erie. Oh. So it's not like so I'll eat it. I'm just not going to eat it.
You have like a supermodel. Like I had one peanut. I'm good. Okay, dinner's over.
No, I wasn't that strict.
I know, but what I'm getting at is so with you're disciplined, you're intense. But do you really, do you almost yourself know that goes to a different level when you're playing Brady or Manning? Or do you think that works against you because now you start kind of like tournament fishermen? I don't know anything about what you do, but in tournament fishing, when you start fishing big tournaments versus a smaller one, you do things different, and it doesn't often work for your psyche.
Yeah. Well, I would say that football, you don't have as many variables and that much control over, like, say, when you're fishing a tournament, how many different variables, like where you're going to fish, what depth you're going to fish at, this and that.
So what you're saying is fishing a tournament is actually more difficult than playing pro football?
No.
I mean, that's what I
wouldn't
heard.
say that. I wouldn't
Mark
say
it
that.
down.
No, what you heard was that there's the game's being played between the hashes, and then there's nowhere to hide, so you got to get it done no matter what. And you don't have as much control on how the game is played. You know what I mean? Like when you're fishing in a boat and you're in a tournament, you're the one-man show. When you're playing football, you got 11 guys on offense, 11 on defense, coaching staff. There's it's a huge team, right? It's not just the guys in the boat. So just that whole aspect of getting everybody together and one common goal and being successful.
I mean, but is it different? When you, because I can remember.
No, so the original question. No, I mean, I tell you what, like, when you're a younger player and you get to a chance to be on the same field with those like iconic players, like one of the first times I was a captain for the Ravens, we played Peyton Manning. It was actually the year I tore my knee real bad. But anyways, we're walking out to the captains and Peyton Manning's walking out there, right? And it's like I'm in my third year. And it's like I'm walking out to the captain's meeting, and here comes Peyton Manning walking out there, and I'm just like, just can't believe I'm getting this opportunity to be able to walk down the same. There's three guys on three captains each side. We're walking out there. Here comes Peyton Manning for the Colts, and I'm just like, wow, is this really happening? Like, I'm a captain. You're going against the best in the world. Here comes Peyton Manning. Awesome experience. Like, you kind of got to pinch yourself that you're living in that moment. But I would tell it, like, the way I handle it is that makes me want to play even more. Like, when you're playing against the best in the world, you're playing against Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, you want to beat those guys, right? And I'm just an offensive lineman. I'm just one piece in a big puzzle. But like, I would say that your competitiveness like goes up another notch. Like mine has always had. Like the bigger the battle, the bigger the player, the more intense, the more focused, the more competitive. Like that nature, that just ramps up to a degree.
See, I don't see you with what I know and just watching you in the boat. Like I think that the things that I see in the boat translate into football and life and your daily stuff. I've just learned that with people. I don't see you phoning it in, even if you're not playing Brady, though.
Yeah, no, heck no. That doesn't, no. It doesn't
You'd
change.
quit before that, right?
No, yeah. No, I mean, you got to play at a certain level every single game, every time you practice. Yeah, no, it doesn't change. Now, like I said, you still have those feelings of like, wow, this is happening. This is an awesome experience. You feel grateful to have this opportunity, but like, it doesn't change the way you play. I've always only played the game one way, and that's 110 miles an hour, and like I'll chew your leg off on Sunday if I have to. That's the way I played.
So, and again, for people that don't know, you primarily were an offensive guard.
Yeah, I played a little bit of tackle, but mainly I played right guard was my main spot. I started like 35 games at right tackle, but then 130 of my games I played right guard. Yep. I just wasn't tall enough to play tackle. I mean, I could get it done, but like I was way more dominant and way more consistent player at guard. So, yeah.
Interesting. I remember one time asking you about the left versus the right, and you told me that's TV shit. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no. I mean, like nowadays, like if you're the weak link on the offensive line, out of all five positions, they're going to attack you. So it doesn't matter where you are. So if you're not playing well, like say the left guard's not doing well, the whole defensive game plan is going to be around making that guy, get him one-on-one and getting guys to beat that guy. So like nowadays, left tackle is important. Right tackle is just as important because, I mean, if you don't have a good right tackle, they're going to put their best guy on the right tackle, and they're going to put Von Miller on the right tackle, and he's going to work. So, no, you have to – there can be no cracks in the dam now. I mean, it's important.
I can remember, my only real football story that I have is I have a friend who played 13 years – or an acquaintance that played 13 years, and he got tickets for me for a game. But I literally, they were such shitty tickets that I wasn't sure. I was actually closer to Lake Erie. I probably could have caught a walleye easier than seeing the game. I don't know. I'm not going to say who it is because that would be shitty, but
you tell somebody something and like they just don't listen. Whether like you're talking to your parents, and maybe they're in that older generation and you're trying to like tell them something, they're just not really listening. When you tell them that when you're the opposing team in a home stadium, that literally you will get the worst tickets, they'll backfill them first. So you were top rung in Cleveland. I remember you said like, dude, I was in the top ring of at Cleveland. So I mean, that's just that's part of it. Like I said, I tried to tell you. I said, you could have found them on StubHub, but you being the budget-minded guy you are, they were free tickets. Okay, but
you're even political when you say that. I mean, I just thought my buddy would. I mean, because I tell people all the time, like, hey, I'll get you some information, but I put them on the juice. I put them on the juice.
You're still not listening. I couldn't get better seats. There was just when you're the visiting team, it don't work like that. You had to use one of your Cleveland connects, and I was a Baltimore connect.
Maybe if I was fishing with Tom Brady, it would have been a different story.
Oh yeah, for sure. You would have gotten
you offensive linemen apparently ain't got shit for juice.
No, we don't have no pull. We're just like we're the lunch pail guys. That's for sure. There ain't no question.
Yeah, I don't know who your quarterback was at the time, but I should have been fishing with him. Then I would have got some tickets. God.
Yeah, I know. Times are tough.
So, I mean, I definitely want to hear some more stories and stuff, but kind of switching gears a little bit, I think, especially as younger guys listen to this, not that it doesn't apply to everybody, that whole NFL culture, because I bust your chops heavily and with mostly things we can't talk about here because it's just I often don't know the boundary, but I sometimes ride it closely, right? But, I respect you because there's a lot of guys, and you've shared things with me that I definitely can't violate that confidence here either, where,
Yep.
Hey, this guy is out of the league and he's broke. Or, hey, this guy, his body's falling apart. He still wants to play, but maybe they say, you ain't playing no more.
Yep.
You ain't got the decision. So, how much is that culture thing? I mean, did you help mentor some players, some guys come in?
Yeah, I tried to help, as much as I could all the time, with young players. When I was a younger player, there was guys that, set the example, that were mentors of mine, that did things the right way, every single day, with like football, with family, with just their preparation, with everything. So I tried to, be, if I'd made it and played that long, I wanted to be that resource for the younger players, questions to ask them, because I mean, everybody, goes through stuff and it's tough, but, these younger players, it's really, it really depends on how they're brought up, and it just can be a slippery slope where, if they grew up with nothing and they don't have nothing, and then all of a sudden they get this influx of money where it's it's an extreme amount of money, and they're very young. Obviously you think about most, successful people in the business world, like when they really make it and they get their large sum of money, normally they're in their, if not, at the earliest 30s, if not 40s or 50s, when they get there, when they've made it and they've got a big chunk of money. These kids get this big chunk of money when they're 22 years old, 21 years old, 23 years old, So, and if it's, and it's just they get so much pressure put on them from family and people pulling at them that well, I helped you here and I did this for you. You got to take care of me now. Yeah, you just feel bad for those guys because they just don't have the tools in their pouch to be able to say no. They don't have the tools to say, well, I don't need, just like buying cars. Like, I tell the guys, like, they want to buy a really nice car. I said, that's fine. Like, literally, if you want to buy, a Mercedes G-Wagon that's $130,000, that's fine. But just buy the G-Wagon, okay? Don't buy the old school car. Don't buy the truck. Don't buy, your mom, like a Mercedes. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a slippery slope of those guys, and you can see their spending habits, and you just know that when those checks stop coming in, they're going to have a serious problem real fast. Within 1 to 3 years, they're gonna be running out of money real fast. So
we all know people like that. I know people like that. We'll leave that alone, but it doesn't have to be a professional sports thing. And you're right. But again, do you think you're balanced? I mean, you're almost like, again, I keep riding on the ice cream thing, but it's just so funny to me because you are so disciplined. So it's not really a shot, but so some of these kids that come from the inner city that maybe don't have the parental thing, or maybe it's just they don't know, and again, you're a good old boy that grew up on a farm. Do you think that helped you? I know you weren't exactly when you were younger, because you've told me, I don't know what you want me to say, but when you were younger, you maybe weren't exactly on the trail, that you wanted to be.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I definitely made mistakes, and we all make mistakes, but I definitely still had, good parents that instilled a good work ethic in me from being on the farm, as far as like putting the work in before we played, and we still did a good amount of playing and had fun, but there was still always work to be done. So that was always instilled in me at a very young age. And that definitely is something that's, has always stuck with me. And it's also helped me become, climbing that ladder and adding tools to help you be successful and make better decisions, is just having those just positive influences in your life. People that are good people, that do things the right way, that you can learn from. It's like I said, a lot of those kids that made it to the NFL, not some of them, they just didn't have enough positive people that did things the right way, not just bad influences, bad situations, and just like, really just, and nothing that they could control. They didn't have any, they couldn't do anything about that. That's just the way life is. So you feel for those guys, and it's a slippery slope. And obviously the NFL has all the resources to help them, and they do, and it's all there for them. They don't use it though, just because they're, it's a lifestyle. And if they've been doing it that way for so many years, it's so hard to break those habits, Yeah,
and I'm not asking you to throw anybody into the bus or anything, but about that kind of that NFL culture, that seems to be the big thing that I think that kids misinterpret. And I think that grown adults that sit there and do this fantasy sports and all this stuff that want to know, like in the locker room, what are the biggest misconceptions or things that you can talk about that it's just like people either take it, they don't understand it, or they take it out of perspective, or they have no idea what's going on?
Well, I mean, there's just guys, at the end of the day, everybody's, everybody are people. They're people, and they have their own battles. Whether that's personal battles or football battles, or or those are the two main things. But like everybody has a battle to fight, and it depends on where they're at, in that battle. And you can tell some guys are struggling with whether it's family and their money problems, and maybe young kids that get drafted and they've had the pressure, like I said, to try to support their family. Or it's guys that are fighting for their lives, with production of the NFL. Just because, every single day it's a job interview and there's no, year contract. Yeah, no, you have to produce every day to even make it a year. So like the culture is a good one. In the locker room, guys are fighting, guys are working hard. And obviously it takes an entire team. You have to learn to work as a team, no matter what, you just doing your job. Yes, that's important, but you got to get the whole team to buy in and to play as one whole team. So it's but the whole culture, it depends on your leaders, and it depends on how how the direction of the team goes. And like last year, we had a really young team and we won a lot of games. We were 14-2 and the number one seed in the AFC going into the playoffs. We had a good group of leaders that did things the right way, and it was special. But that can change from club to club, team to team. You get a certain amount of guys that have bad attitudes and that are complainers all the time, and things can go south in a hurry. A locker room can be ruined, and that culture can be ruined by bad attitudes.
Is that why the Patriots have been so successful? Is because they try to control those things?
Oh man, well we're gonna find out now, like how now that Brady's a Buccaneer now, we're gonna find out the Patriots for the first time in my time of playing football, that there's gonna be no Bill and no Tom, so we'll figure it out. Obviously, I think they've complemented each other really well the last 17 years or whatever, how many years Tom's been playing. But like, we're going to find out now more about Bill and the Patriots. But obviously, he's the GOAT of coaches as well. So
how frequently did you whether it was your coaches maybe off the side, or you just took it upon yourself to kind of step up, and whether it's a young player or to squash a bad attitude, or those things you just talked about, like because you're a leadership guy.
Yeah, I did it more as I got older, more and more every single year. I just felt like, when I was a real young player, when you're a young player, less is more. You keep your head down and you work extremely hard. But when you get to an older player and it's your time to say something, it's your time to speak up, you need to have a voice, of the players, and you need to have guys that are willing to do that. And there's sometimes hard conversations to have with coaches, hard conversations to have with players. You have to tell them to say, hey, we understand you're working hard, but you're doing this the wrong way. You need to do it this way. And there's a lot of, egos and emotion involved, and it's like hard, fishing. Yeah. But yes, like fishing, but I would say, tick her up a few more notches too. You know what I mean?
I just meant with the egos.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Egos. Well, everybody has their egos are everywhere. Yeah. You're high on the egos. All right. Ross, there's a book called Ego is the Enemy. You know that? You need to read that book.
Apparently you have.
I have read that book. It's a good book. Ego is the Enemy by, I think it's Ryan Holiday. But anyways.
I didn't know we had Oprah on here. We're going to have a book club for us over.
Yeah. Read some books. You might learn something. All right.
You only have like 10% retention. So I prefer to listen and watch, just like this podcast. People are learning a lot right now.
Okay, so how about this? Like when I read, because I don't read much books at all either. But I'm reading. I do audiobook and the book. So I buy the book and the audiobook. So I listen while I'm reading. That's awesome, by the way.
Man, that would be hard to, because you get out of sync, I think.
No. I start so like you get the audiobook ready, you start the audiobook, and then you can page out and go right to your book, and then you can just roll. And obviously, when you need to take a break, you stop your audio. But like I've read my last 3 books that way, and I really like that because it gives me the visual and the listening to it.
You are.
So I'm just saying, when you want to read something, that is legit of listening and reading at the same time. I mean, even probably for kids too, if they're or whatnot. That's and adults too.
I've learned stuff from you for sure. I won't talk about it now, but mostly it's usable. I got to be honest. I feel like right now we're at the point where if the internet went out, we still would have a marginal podcast. But I feel like it's kind of like on a guide trip. I'll use that analogy because that's all I know. Is we've got like 16 out of the 18 fish we need in the box, so I can start getting a little edgier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little risky.
Yeah, a little bit. I could say stuff like, I don't know, like let's just throw this out there. Like, tried getting Lamar Jackson's agent. He wasn't into the whole fishing podcast thing, so I ended up with his lineman, the guy that pushes people around for him. I'm fine with that. You know, I mean, it wasn't what we were shooting for. But
to get Lamar Jackson for a podcast, I can't even imagine how much that would cost, Ross. I mean, I know you have a lot of money, but that would be, I
have a lot of crankbaits. I don't know if that's like Bitcoin. You know, people have Bitcoin. I have crankbaits.
Yeah. Do you have money in Bitcoin?
No.
You
know me. Right. I'm so conservative. Like, I mean, I'm crazy. But
he says, no, don't.
That scares me, dude. Do you have money?
Heck no.
Yeah, I knew you too much of a good old boy for that.
Yeah, that was going around the locker room a couple of years ago, guys. I was obviously trying to tell enough guys, no way, don't. It's crazy.
So what is it like having? I mean, now I'm not busting your chops, which is really bad when you have a talk and you have to tell when you are and you're not, but. So Lamar Jackson, I mean, again, I really personally don't follow this stuff, but in Port Clinton, Ohio, 3,000 people, right? There's little kids running around, white kids, black kids, Mexican kids, doesn't matter who, what, 8 years old. There's 60-year-old dudes wearing jerseys because this dude is, I mean, you told me the other day he won the
League MVP.
So immediately people start getting on the bandwagon a little bit. He's an exciting guy to watch. I mean, you watch him for 5 seconds, he looks like a video game.
Yeah, so for sure.
What was he like?
Yeah.
I mean, being around him,
It was definitely it was an awesome experience being around that talented and gifted of an athlete. Just what he could do on the football field was just crazy. His athletic ability to make guys miss, and guys that are the fastest in the world and the best what they do, make them look like average. And he did that week in and week out, and it was crazy. I mean, all the touchdowns that he threw, and I didn't know going into at the end of 2018 season, the year before last, he'd started the last 6 games and he had run the football a good amount, and we'd won a lot of ball games.
Did you guys draft him?
Yeah, we drafted him.
So he didn't play for anybody else?
No. But anyways, so he had really done well running the football as a quarterback, but we still needed to know if he could throw the football. Well, this year he definitely threw the football a lot, and he had 38 touchdown passes, as throwing, and then he was also in the top 10 rushing for any rushing running back. Obviously he was a quarterback, but he was still in the top 10 in rushing as a football player. So just a dynamic guy. And obviously he was the league MVP for a reason. And some of his highlights, there was a spin move that he did when we were playing in Cincinnati where he made 3 guys. One guy fell down, 2 guys tripped over their own feet, and he ran 65 yards and scored. I mean, just his athletic ability is crazy. And
is he one of the best athletes ever? I mean,
Yeah, he is. Yep, he is. And we play we played in Seattle, and we played Bobby Wagner, and he's a middle linebacker for the Seahawks, and he's a Hall of Fame type player. He will be in the Hall of Fame. And I talked to him after the game, and he's you watch him on film, and he looks fast, and he looks, and it looks legit. But when you actually play him, and you're actually going on the same field as him, he's the dude's on another level. He is.
What's his 40 time?
So he didn't run his 40 at the combine because all the talk was that they wanted
to make him a running back or something.
They wanted to move him to running back or receiver. So he didn't run the 40, but they said he'd be in the 4.2s. Whoa. Yeah, so and obviously the ability, but the cool thing was too though that he's a young kid. And, and I was the old man on the team. So, and we were the 2 leaders of the offense. Obviously, I was the old guy and he was the young buck. But, the amount of respect that he showed to me and to the game of football, he definitely put football first. When he showed up to practice, he practiced hard. When he showed up to play, he played hard. And, he played for his teammates. There was that respect factor. He was not a me guy. And there's a lot of me guys in the NFL. And that's just part of it. There's a lot of me guys everywhere, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. But, him being respectful and not being a me guy and just and that contributed to his success too, just because he had gotten so much by the end of the year, like you said, it was full blow up mode. You couldn't get his jersey. People are paying thousands of dollars for his jersey because everything was sold out. It's just he was, taking the NFL by storm. And the cool thing was the kid stayed the same. He didn't blow up,
I did
blow up like crazy.
Even though we're buddies, I took some notes, right? He bought you a watch.
He did. He bought me a Rolex watch for Christmas. My first. How many Rolexes do you have, Ross?
This isn't about me. I'm betting. I'm not the 100-time, big time NFL guy. I'm just the poor fisherman. But the reality, I'm going to look, is you probably don't even have a watch on because you hated probably even paying for your phone. Was it a Casio?
Nope. It's a Garmin, actually.
Yeah.
I splurged on a Garmin watch. I did.
So what did you do? Is that watch is it in a vault or what?
So, well, I had to get it resized because the dang thing wouldn't fit over my hands. I got pretty big hands, but so I had to get it resized, and I wore it.
Sausage fingers.
Exactly, they are. They're all nasty. Look at this thumb. You see that thing? That is nasty. That's NFL carnage for you right there. But yeah, I'm gonna wear it for special occasions. Out to dinner. I mean, it's definitely something that you can It's more of a memorabilia, something like when you get it out. And I plan on wear it more as I get older. But
you're not a Rolex dude, man.
Well, I mean, that'll always be a memory. I mean, we broke the NFL rushing record in the history of the NFL in rushing. Like
really?
Before it was like the 78 Patriots or something like that, 1978 Patriots.
For number of yards or average?
Just total rushing yards. So like that was, with Lamar running and Mark Ingram running, just our total rushing yards. We broke the NFL record last year, which is, really hard to do. So, I mean, so that was cool. So you always have that as a keepsake. And that's just another, him wanting to show his appreciation for how good of a year he had. You always take care of your linemen, right? And he took care of us, which was, like I said, of course, that was my first Rolex.
Well, sometimes they take you out to dinner. I mean, I don't know about those.
Yeah, he definitely, we had offensive line dinners. He didn't come with us. He was, wanted to stay home, be with his family and stuff, which was cool. But because we spent sometimes, you spend enough time with him during the all day, you know what I mean? So we would, it's just the old line, but no, he's a good dude and wish nothing but the best for him. And I think they're going to do good things for sure.
So getting back to some of the stories that the guys that are football hounds, that just eat this stuff up. I mean, I've been busting your chops about Brady and guys that are on the same side of the line. That's not what you do, but who are some of the battles? I mean, I think immediately of a guy like J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
Who are the guys that you battle against that you're like, I don't hate this guy, but I want to make him look like a bitch?
Yeah. Well, last year, immediately, when the schedule comes out in April, you automatically look at it and you see who your heavy hitters are going to be, right? So last April, we had Monday Night Football in LA, the Rams. So immediately, that's Aaron Donald. So last year, we had Aaron Donald on Monday Night Football. That was a huge battle. And then there's a guy, Geno Atkins, plays for the Bengals. And we play him twice a year. He's in our division. And when he's healthy and going hard, he's another one that just is a force to be reckoned with. And then, like you said, J.J. Watt was, back we played Houston a lot there back in 11, 12, 13, 14. And we had some just unbelievable battles, me and J.J. Watt. So, guys, those three guys come to mind. And like I said, the top of the guy for the interior lineman right now is Aaron Donald for sure. I mean, you watch that guy on tape, and he does not stay blocked. He makes some guys look really, really bad that are really good players, and he's very special. But it's awesome, those battles that you have. You get to go against those guys, the best in the world, and you relish that. You know what I mean? I'm a very competitive guy, and you want to beat the best. And if you want to be the best, you got to go against those guys. You got to do well. And I'm not going to say I won all my battles against those guys, but I did a good job and held my own for sure.
I can remember another little birdie that they told me to ask about trail sugs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a good trail sug story for sure. So Sizz is his nickname, is what we call him. It was again
what's his nickname? I missed that.
Sizz.
Got it.
Sizz is his nickname. So I finished my last 6 games at college playing left tackle because of injury. I was normally a right-sided player. Well, come training camp, it was another one of those first days we were in pads, and it was actually the first day that we were in pads. We had a couple of practices. It was the first real day. When you put the pads on, that's when the stuff becomes real. Well, I was playing left tackle, and that was not my position to play. I'm just not just the left side of just your muscle memory was off. Well, I'd never been put on my back playing football, in college, high school.
They call that a pancake, right?
Yeah, pancake.
Orlando Pace, Mr. Ohio State pancaker.
Exactly. Yep. Big O is what they called him. I heard a lot of stories about Big O from an offensive line coach that used to coach him in St. Louis. But anyways, Sis, first day of pads, Sis put me on not even on my back, I would say on the back of my head, which was like an oh shit moment as far as for
Just
me as a
caught you
football
off
player.
guard, or just
No. He didn't caught me off guard. He just he literally he caught me like I was I was thinking a speed move. He was going to work a speed move up the field, and then he went to the bowl, and I didn't catch it right away. But still, normally you would get caught and maybe hop a couple of times and brace and get him stopped. Well, he literally caught me and planted me, and it was just like it was a big wake up call that I was in the NFL. And these guys are grown men and very strong, powerful, and I just thought I was naive as a young player, thinking that well, no matter what happens, I don't care. Nobody's putting me on my back, And he literally put me on the back of my neck, the first day. So I had some soul searching to do, that first day.
That probably could have been the best thing that ever happened to you, though.
Well, I definitely was always, go back to the tools and the things that you do to succeed to use. And I was like, hey, it's one day. You know what I mean? I had some doubts in my mind. Am I going to be able to play at this level? And that was only one day. But, the next day, I refocused, recalibrated, and just said, hey, I'm going to go fight my ass off the next day and see what happens and see where the chips fall. No matter how bad a day that was, and that did put some doubt in me, but I was going to continue to fight. And by the end of my rookie year, I had started 12 games. And I definitely knew I could play at the end of the year. But it's one of those deals where, like you said, my career has not always been just success, And obviously, I was very successful by the end of it. But there was days like that where I got put on my back and feeling like, hey, I was a JUCO, beat the odds, made it to Iowa, Division I. Then I was fortunate enough to be drafted. But gosh, this might be it. Guys get drafted in the third round and they bust. It happens a lot. So I was like, hey, that might be me. But obviously, I continue to fight, and things really, really turned out great.
So, I mean, this is totally switching gears, but you've been retired for about 5 seconds, right?
Yep.
And that's why I know I'm on some level of things, because I told you we were going to do this when you retired, and we hit it pretty quick.
Yep, for sure.
Before you moved off into the sunlight.
Man, you cashed in your chip, that's for sure. You don't have too many more left either. All right.
Dude, it looks like I'm in Vegas at 3 a.m. on a bender. That's how many chips I've got.
All right. Well, when I'm coming to Lake Erie, all right.
I've dropped off crawlers, chrome blue. Right. You don't have any negotiations here. There's not many negotiations here. But in all seriousness, so. Because I've had friends and clients both that have been, played at a level in professional sports, and I won't say any more than that, because only what I'm about to say is some of those guys have got into things that weren't good, because they were looking for, like one guy in particular was a gambling thing because he needed an outlet. He was so uber competitive. The things that made him great at his day job, now that he's retired, is different. So. I mean, since I know you're a frugal dude, but have you went out and bought something? I mean, how are you dealing with your time? I know you haven't really had that much time to think about this, but it's got to be between your ears a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're definitely in a huge transition in our lives, our entire family, just, dealing with, like you said, starting a new life, we're basically doing this, just a lot earlier than a lot of folks, but I don't know if I'm going to actually retire or if I'm going to get into football. We're going to just kind of take it one day at a time and see where my heart takes me as far as, like I said, I've been playing football in the fall for the last, I've been playing football for 23 years, which is crazy, pretty much my whole life. So we're just going to, take it one day at a time. And obviously now with the, the coronavirus stuff, it even reshifts your focus again, even more, and kind of, makes you think more about life and, what's important and really, and all those things. But yeah, I'm going to figure out, we're going to probably go back to Iowa and spend some time. We have a house there where I would train at Iowa in the off seasons. So we have a home base there where we can set up for now and then kind of figure out what we want to do and just go from there. Possibly, like I said, some football. Possibly my dad farms. We have a family farm, so possibly help spend some time with my dad doing some farming, and then obviously could be coaching the kids too in youth sports. Could coach them. And
lots
go
of
that
good
route
options.
Too. Yeah, and obviously have some time to do some more fishing and and time outdoors with the kids and stuff. So
thank God for the corona. You ain't coming to Ohio. Interesting stuff. You were nice enough that I didn't even have to bring out the birthday story. I'm going to save that card.
Well, you can definitely save it. All right. Don't forget. I will still throw you out of your boat. All right. I will.
I don't know if you're looking at the same picture I am, but you ain't that big anymore.
All right. Well, don't ever forget.
That sunflower or whatever you had tattooed on your arm kind of looks like a little dandelion now.
It's not about the size of the dog. Okay. It's about the size of the fight in the dog, okay?
If that was the case, I'd murder you, right?
No. You got the yip yap, all right? I got the dog that walks up and it's not yip yapping, and then you just get nervous about, okay? You're the little yip yap dog where you walk in and startle them and they're barking all the time, but then when it really comes down to the point, they're not yip yapping anymore and they're scared.
Right? The birthday story may come out after all. Well, hey, I appreciate you giving us your time, and maybe next time you'll have some fishing excursions, and we can go a different thing, and just like your life transitioning away from football, we'll be all into fishing.
Yeah, sounds cool. Heck yeah, that'd be great.
Well, thanks for your time, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed talking with Marshal Yanda, the ex-NFL guru, all-star. I don't even know what your thing is, but apparently you were pretty good at pushing people around. I mean...
Yeah, it was a great run, and had a lot of fun doing it. And gosh, I'm going to miss the heck out of it, but I'm looking forward to the next chapter. That's for sure.
I'd be interested to see. I'll be interested to see how those things go too. I mean, I could see you in bib overalls milking cows. I could see you, coaching little kids 50 pounds running around. I mean, it will be interesting. But.
Yeah, just see how it goes for sure.
Well, thanks for your time, and everybody that tuned in. We'll have another podcast coming at you. Bigwaterfishing.com. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're just about everywhere. Google us. Check us out. That's it. We out.